Penguin Random House Audio presents The Dawn Watch, Joseph Conrad in a Global World, by Maya Jasanoff. Read for you by Laurel Lekfow.
I am the world itself, come to pay you a visit. Joseph Conrad, Victory, 1915. Prologue. One of Us. It was hard to get to Congo. With ongoing civil war in the east, the south, a shadow state carved up by international mining companies, and political protest surging in the capital, Kinshasa, the Democratic Republic of the Congo was by many measures one of the world's most dysfunctional states. Though a country of abundant natural resources, it sits near the bottom of the United Nations Human Development Index and has the second lowest per capita gross national income in the world. In the words of my guidebook, this is a huge area of dark corners, both geographically and mentally, where man has fought continuously against his own demons and the elements of nature at large. This, in other words, was the heart of darkness. And that's why I wanted to go. First, I needed a visa, and to get that, I needed a notarized prise en charge, or sponsorship guarantee from somebody in Congo. Through a fixer in Kinshasa, I eventually received a yellow document riddled with stamps and signatures in purple, green, and blue. I counted 24 in all, from the Ministry of the Interior, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the Director General of Immigration, the Public Services Bureau, the Immigration Police, the Mayor's Office, multiple notaries, administrators, and section chiefs. Some had pictures of panthers and spears. I paid more than $500 to get it. I sent the application for my visa to Washington and booked a plane ticket for more than 2 months later. I turned to planning what I'd do there. I got in touch with anyone I could think of who had any connection to Congo and contacted everyone they suggested in turn. I arranged an itinerary with an intrepid tour operator that would fly me deep inland to Kisangani and then travel by boat 1,000 miles around the bend of the Congo River back to Kinshasa. The journey would cost me a lot, despite extremely basic conditions. But that's what I was told it took for a Western female tourist to travel safely with full-time escorts in one of the world's least touristed destinations. At an office in my university called Global Support Services, I met a man who sat behind a desk, draped in a Zimbabwean flag. He issued me a security briefing and medical evacuation plan. He advised me to waterproof everything twice, keep my money strapped around my ankle, stay vigilant at all times, and expect everything to be stolen. Then he went to a cupboard and came back with a gift, a mosquito net. Everything was set up. But after months of processing, I still didn't have a visa. The embassy in Washington said it was waiting for approval from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Kinshasa. I paid for another stamp. My contacts pressed their contacts. Nothing budged. The delay was deliberate, I was told, and no Americans were getting in. By the time my visa finally arrived, thanks to a fortuitous link with somebody who worked in the Congolese embassy, it was the first day of the new semester, so I'd have to wait until classes ended before I could go. And in the meantime, Congo was cruising toward political crisis. President Joseph Kabila's term was running out, yet he'd refused to schedule an election. Anti-government protests roiled Kinshasa. Almost 50 people were shot, hacked, and burned to death by security forces. Taxi drivers refused to go from the airport into the city center for fear of attack. The U.S. State Department ordered family members of government personnel to leave. The European Union planned sanctions. If I was still determined to make the trip, the tour operator advised, I'd have to get out before the president was due to step down, or rather, not step down, triggering worse violence. That left me exactly 3 weeks. I packed the mosquito net and guidebook, stuffed cash into my shoes, loaded Congolese rumba, soukous, onto my playlist, and headed to the airport. More than 100 years ago, a Polish sailor named Konrad Korzeniowski also made a trip to Congo that seemed to stall forever, until it happened suddenly all at once. In November 1889, he had interviewed with a Brussels-based company for a job as a steamboat captain on the Congo River. They promised him a position, but didn't reply to any of his follow-up letters, and when he inquired again in person, they told him to wait. After 6 months of uncertain silence, Conrad got word from the company that a job had opened up. He was to leave for Africa within a week. "If you only knew the devilish haste I had to make," he wrote to a friend. "If you had only seen all the tin boxes and revolvers, the high boots and the tender farewells, all the bottles of medicine, and all the affectionate wishes I took away with me." Conrad was supposed to stay in Congo for 3 years, but after just one trip up and down the river between Kinshasa and Kisangani, he quit. He saw in Congo a European regime of appalling greed, violence, and hypocrisy, and left Africa in a state of psychological and moral despair. 9 years later, when he'd settled in England and anglicized his name to Joseph Conrad, he channeled his experience into a novel called Heart of Darkness, 1899. "I was going to Congo because I wanted to see whatever I could of what Conrad had seen, because what Conrad had seen shapes what so many other people have seen since." Heart of Darkness remains one of the most widely read novels in English, and the movie adaptation Apocalypse Now has brought Conrad's story to still more. The very phrase has taken on a life of its own. Conrad's book has become a touchstone for thinking about Africa and Europe, civilization and savagery, imperialism, genocide, insanity, about human nature itself. It's also become a flashpoint. In the 1970s, Nigerian novelist Chinua Achebe declared Heart of Darkness an offensive and totally deplorable book, rife with degrading stereotypes of Africa and Africans. Conrad, said Achebe, was a bloody racist. Not long afterward, a half-American, half-Kenyan college student named Barack Obama was challenged by his friends to explain why he was reading this racist tract. "Because," Obama stammered, "because the book teaches me things. About white people, I mean. See, the book's not really about Africa, or black people. It's about the man who wrote it, the European, the American, a particular way of looking at the world." When I first read Heart of Darkness in my Ithaca High School English class, Conrad's cynical, critical take on European imperialism felt exciting and brave. Later, when I read it and Achebe's essay with my own students at Harvard, I came to value Conrad's perspective for the same reasons Obama did. Not just despite its blind spots, but because of them. Conrad captured something about the way power operated across continents and races, something that seemed as important to engage with today as it had when he started to write. And Heart of Darkness was just the beginning. As I went on to read more of Conrad's books, I found myself time and again amazed by the prophetic sweep of his particular way of looking at the world. After 9/11 and the rise of Islamist terrorism, I was startled to remember that the same author who'd condemned imperialism in Heart of Darkness had also written The Secret Agent, 1907, which centers around a terrorist bomb plot in London. After the 2008 financial crisis, I found Conrad in Nostromo, 1904, portraying multinational capitalism getting up to the same kinds of tricks that I read about in the daily newspaper. As the digital revolution gathered pace, I discovered Conrad writing movingly in Lord Jim, 1900, and many other works about the consequences of technological disruption in the industry he knew best, shipping. As debates about immigration unsettled Europe and the United States, I marveled anew and afresh at how Conrad had produced any of these books in English, his third language, which he learned only as an adult. Conrad's pen was like a magic wand, conjuring the spirits of the future. How did he do it? How had
Sample complete. Ready to continue?